Welcome to the next episode of the MB2 Underground podcast. I am your host, Joe Fox. We are here in sunny Coronado, California at the beautiful Hotel Del with another exceptional guest, one that's close to my heart, a partnership that I got to work on, and a friend of mine, the owner of Coastal Dental Arts here in downtown San Diego, general dentist, Dr. David Chotiner. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate being here, man. It's
Appreciate
awesome.
you taking the time.
Super cool. Yeah.
Early on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, not too bad.
After a 50th birthday party. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Thank you. I mean, it's different. It's different. I was thinking back 10 years ago, I had the last bigger birthday party we did in Vegas. And it was a really fun night. Had a bunch of people out there. And more alcohol was consumed at 40.
That is fair.
Yeah, and a little bit of a different sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But 50 feels a little bit different. It doesn't feel old.
Yeah.
But it feels like a milestone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That kind of makes you feel grown up, maybe more than at 40. So I feel fine. There's some things breaking down a little bit.
Don't believe it. I don't believe it. You look great, man.
No, thank you. I feel good. I'm excited about kind of my future at 50, and looking forward. And I feel good, man.
Awesome. So this podcast is all about entrepreneurship, leadership, business, economics, all the things you've been doing for a very, very long time, all the things we will continue to do. Mm-hmm. And it's our listeners want to hear the stories, right? So I've got a lot of questions to kind of understand the story in more depth. And, I know a little bit more about your situation than most, just because we got to know each other so well. But before that, I've got to ask, you played golf with most of the executives the other day. How did that go?
Oh, man, that was fun. Well, first off, I wasn't sure who was going to play. And once I pretty much got everybody on board, I was super excited.
I love it. Yeah. Bad day of golf is a great day.
Yeah.
So you getting into your business, mm-hmm. right, and your background, you've been hustling for a long time, man. Since childhood in a way that most folks haven't. And so walk us through that, right? Entrepreneurship has been and is in your blood. Tell me about the early years and what you were
it's interesting. I don't really know what it was, but when I was 14 years old, I remember wanting to work. And it wasn't that I needed the money. Yeah. I wanted to work. I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, and I pretty much had everything I wanted. I grew up in the 80s, and it was a fun time. But I wanted to work, and I couldn't work in California. In order to get a work permit, you had to be 15.
Really?
So I was 14 years old, and I went into the administration office, and I had made friends with a couple of the women who work in there, and I basically told them I wanted to get this job over the summer before I turned 15. So at 14, they signed this thing saying that it was like a worker's permit. You had to get signed from school. So I started working at a pharmacy when I was 14 years old. Wow. I kind of pretending to be 15. And I don't know what it was. I felt like I wanted to play and have fun with my friends and do all the things that you do as a teenager. But I also felt like I wanted to do something. Yeah. And so I had multiple jobs from basically the end of middle school all the way through high school. Random jobs. I did door-to-door sales, selling these coupon books for car services.
Yeah.
All kinds of odd jobs.
And you won an award doing that, correct?
Oh no. Yeah, that's funny. That's right, I mentioned that. So when I was 13, this is actually before I got the work permit. My mom was working in an entertainment law firm, and she was hooked up with a bunch of people, and they were doing fundraising for an organization. And you basically were selling raffle tickets, which were used to go towards this charity. And this was I guess really I don't want to call it a job, but there were rewards, for whoever sold the most. So I basically went out in front of the grocery store at every waking hour that I could after school, and I just hustled on selling these raffle tickets, and I sold the most of all the people who were doing it in LA. And first prize was I think it was 1987, so it was an 87 Toyota pickup. and I won this freaking pickup truck.
Couldn't even drive.
Couldn't even drive it as a 13-year-old. And so another friend of the family who took second place won a group outing to go to Irvine Meadows, which is an outdoor concert venue in Irvine, to see Huey Lewis and the News.
Wow.
For 30 people, and you got to go like in limousines.
Which was a big deal.
And I was a huge Huey Lewis fan. And remember, this is on the tail, like this is Back to the Future, and the whole Huey Lewis and the News thing was really, really cool. So my parents were like, oh, if you want, you can just give her the car, and then you can go with 30 of your friends to go see Huey Lewis. And I was like, hell yeah.
I love it.
So I gave up the Toyota truck as a 13-year-old. And then just went to the concert, and so that was pretty cool, man. I still remember that concert. That was fun.
So you knew you wanted to be a dentist from a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Started your practice in 2003. It was an interesting time. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a dentist since before I knew. My mom pulled out a drawing when I was in high school that I had drawn when I was in first or second grade that said I want to be a dentist when I grew up. I
still have it?
I do. It's framed. It's in my office. I think it's on the website somewhere. And I didn't remember making this drawing. And in high school, I just kind of like became aware that I had done that, and that sort of like lit the fuse. I went to dental school, and within like just a short period of time after working for an associate and like in the grind, quadrupling. Booking 4 columns and, just kind of, running around like a chicken with your head cut off. It kind of like, I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this, And so less than a year out of school, I was like hustling, we'll use that word again, to different banks to try to like believe in me, to give me the resources that I would need to like open up a dental practice.
And this was in the middle of a recession, right? This was after the kind of the tech boom.
Yeah, like 2000. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right? It was, but at that time in San Diego, there was like some pretty substantial growth. Like downtown San Diego right now, if you look at the skyline and you compare it from 20 years ago, it's like a total metamorphosis, like most big cities, but especially in San Diego, because downtown San Diego was, I don't want to say dumpy, but it wasn't that nice. Most of it wasn't that nice. But there was a lot of potential with high rises for residents moving down there. And so I picked that location because I knew it was a good opportunity to bring, the people were going to go live there, people were going to go work there.
You could see the vision of the city.
I could totally see it. And I did a lot of research. I wrote a business plan. I had no idea how to do it. The internet wasn't what it was.
There was no chat GPT to teach you how to write a business plan.
I didn't have a business degree, so I honestly had no idea what I was doing, but I kind of like followed the template, and I wrote this, and so it's 27-year-old kid comes out of dental school, writes this business plan out. I had a whole bunch of like stats about what was going to happen downtown San Diego, and I just went to this bank. I think I was hooked up through Henry Schein at the time. Yeah. They put me in the contact with the right people. And then I was just off to the races, man.
Wow.
And we opened in 2003.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. So fast forward to now with Coastal Dental Arts. Beautiful, beautiful practice, right? Beautiful building.
Thank you.
Beautiful practice. Your office in particular is gorgeous as well. But
thank you.
You got this great monster practice. You just turned 50. Looking back, what are you the most proud of with Coastal Dental Arts?
It sounds kind of weird, but I feel it's mostly my employees. Yeah. I've employed a lot of people. And
how many children have been born?
There's been 18 kids have been born in my practice.
I love it.
And I'm only the parent to 2 of them.
Yeah, right.
But my wife didn't really work in the office, but I still include those my kids. And that's what it is. There's been a lot of like familial growth, and I don't like pat myself on the back or anything, but I look at myself as like a facilitator. Yeah. Like I've created opportunity for dozens of employees over 20 years, and I've hoped to be like the best boss I possibly can be. I've had to terminate very few people. I try to hire like the right cultural people that fit well with our vision, and I think I've facilitated a lot of like really good relationships within my practice. I mean, obviously like the dentistry is fun, and you could say, oh, you helping people feel better about their smile and changing people's lives through dentistry, and then that's super important.
Yeah.
But like we're gonna do that as dentists if we're good dentists no matter what.
Yeah.
But how we can impact the people that we're working with in their lives, like that's a big thing too.
That's special.
And that makes, I feel good about that. I feel like that's like I'm doing more than just being a dentist.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're one of those general dentists that really loves doing endo, right? And so you love being a clinician, but you also love being an entrepreneur and business owner.
Most definitely.
What is your leadership style philosophy?
I'm a pretty intense person.
No.
Yeah. I'm a pretty intense person.
When you say intense, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's not that I want to like micromanage things, but I want people to do things a way that is going to be best for the culture and best for other people. Mm-hmm. And so I set expectations. Yep. I train and I retrain and I explain why. And I try to make my practice operate in a way that my staff would want to be treated if they were in any business. We always give like we use the Nordstrom analogy all the time. When you walk into a super nice department store, they do treat you differently than if you walk into
JCPenney.
Exactly. It's nothing wrong with like going to shopping at JCPenney, but we want our patients to feel that when they walk into our office. And so I try to lead with that sort of enthusiasm, like this is an opportunity, and our office looks like
Beautiful.
A Nordstrom level. So if you're there and you have that tool to sort of like prop you up, and if you understand your own behavioral style and you've developed how to communicate effectively with people, then you can really, you can make people have like different perceptions of dentistry, right? And then it facilitates like experiences that are different than what most people think when they go to the dentist, and then the staff can feel like empowered, by that. So, and it's also just letting them be. I don't want to micromanage them, but when things need to get kind of reeled back in, I'll reel them back in. But I like to give my staff the power to make intelligent decisions about what's best for the practice, because I believe that ultimately, like, they're on board with my philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you select the right people, that should naturally happen. If there's incentives are aligned, that should naturally happen.
Most definitely.
Do you think those high standards are your secret sauce and kind of what's made you so successful?
I mean, partially. I mean, like in the end, for me, I spend a lot of. I'll digress. I spent a lot of time in the restaurant business, and I going all through college and even in through dental school, I waited tables to do some bartending.
That's not easy.
And it's not easy.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Being a server is hard.
Yeah, it is. And I've done crazy like turn and burn corporate restaurants, and I've done some smaller like kind of fine dining type of places. And one thing that I've learned, or I did learn through that experience, which I didn't get when I was a teenager working in a movie theater, at a grocery store, or at a pharmacy, or going door-to-door sales to a certain extent, was that there's acting involved.
Oh, absolutely.
In dentistry.
Yeah.
And you can be a very, very genuine person, and I'm not talking like fake acting.
Yeah.
But you can be a genuine person, but you can modify the way you approach a person to facilitate a successful interaction with that person.
Absolutely.
And then get a yes to a treatment plan.
Yeah, which leads to a successful, healthy clinical outcome, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. Hey, and I don't think of that as acting as much. I mean, I absolutely get the perspective. I think of it as just awareness, right? Like you're aware of how your energy, your words impact.
Most definitely.
The patient. That's special.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe acting isn't the best word, but the reality is that not everybody is going to adapt to everybody else. Yeah. Like you're very, very, like you vacillate through like a whole bunch of different. I can just tell anybody who you can interact with, like you can be friends with anybody, and I can totally see that with you. And to a certain extent, I can do it as well. But that's because I've spent a lot of time like trying to develop my own like situational awareness of like my behavioral style. Because it's hard to interact with different types of people sometimes, obviously. But there are a lot of people and a lot of dentists who they're not that malleable. And so what they do is they pigeonhole themselves into only being able to deal with certain types of situations. And that, if you can't manipulate your own behavioral style yourself, you're not going to be able to help your staff do the same thing. Yep. And when you can, and you can act, in an authentic way, then everybody grows. Everybody begins to communicate more effectively. And then the bottom line is you are doing better dentistry. You are changing people's lives. You are being more successful economically. You are feeling more empowered as a business owner or an entrepreneur or a dentist, or less stress in your family life. And it just transcends into every sort of aspect of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the best entrepreneurs, the best leaders are the ones that are constantly trying to grow themselves and it just, setting an example. That's incredible. So again, you just turned 50. You've got a big,
you keep saying that
practice.
For some reason. I feel like,
well, you said it was a pretty big turning point, and I'm almost there. So maybe that's my issues are coming out, right? I've got a couple years, but I'll be there. So that seems like a pretty serious milestone. Just like you said, right? Where 40 I didn't really think much about it. Definitely 30, and but yeah, 50 seems like
it was good. It was good. We were just chatting with the guys beforehand, and I think I'll mention this. I kind of butt heads with a few of my dentist buddies who aren't with MB2 about what MB2 is, and a couple of them are with other groups, and it's sometimes the people that I don't know who are dentists who it's hard for them to sort of believe in there is a possible culture in corporate dentistry that's different than what most people assume, and you can't really get them to really buy it like right away. It's sort of like a drip, and then maybe they start buying it. But for me personally, yesterday I had like a epiphany. It was actually on the golf course. We played Coronado with some of the guys also yesterday. And the monotony of dentistry can be kind of bleh, meh. We talk about some procedures like you just don't like to do. You don't like to deal with certain types of people, running the dental practice, just the stuff that's like not fun. Yep. And after 20, 25 years, you kind of start to it's almost like you grind to a halt. You sort of lose a little bit of the enthusiasm about what you're doing. And that can kind of make you, be disenchanted with being a dentist. And then I kind of had this epiphany yesterday where I was like, you know what, I actually feel more enthusiasm and there's more of a fire for me to get in the car and go to work than it did just 2 years ago. When I was doing really well, economically speaking. You could be doing really well financially, and you still have all of that stress. And I think that feeling comes from partnering with MB2. Wow. I don't think that, and so I happen to be 50 now, but I think that feeling of kind of being excited to be a dentist still at 50, I don't think that I would necessarily have that feeling had I not done this.
That's awesome.
I think I would have maintained that same sort of, meh, and then eventually get into my middle 50s and be like, I got to stop doing this. And I don't really feel that good anymore.
That's awesome. We hear that all the time, man. And it extends your career, and so it extends your financial outcomes and your ability to take care of your staff and your ability to take care of your patients, man. That's fantastic. So what next, though? You've got some other things in the works.
I do.
You're an entrepreneur. Your wheels are always turning.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, and I could talk for hours, and I know you've got other people to get in here, but I've always felt like I need to do more, right? I mean, if I'm a 20-something-year-old and I open up a practice from scratch in an area that has 3 dentists with not enough people living there, I like to take chances. And I always have felt like there's something more. And was it consulting? Should I go back and get a law degree? I thought of a whole bunch of things. And in the end, I hooked up with a buddy of mine, and who's a marketing guy. And we started thinking what can we do to help people in their dental health? And this guy struggles with his own dental health. And he asked me one day, what's the laziest thing someone can do to improve their dental health? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, we do a lot of ortho. Patients who are in aligner therapy, I always tell them, because they don't brush their teeth after they eat, they take their aligners out, they put them right back in, all the scraps on their teeth. And I say, hey, before you put your aligners back in, chew some gum for 5 minutes. At least it's just something, because it'll remove the debris and then put the aligners in and you'll be good. And so I said, you know what, I think chewing gum is the laziest thing you can do to help your oral health. And I'm like, but not every gum, gum is just little sticky thing. Like it's not going to do much. So we started thinking about this, and so we paired up with a company, and we developed a functional gum, a functional chewing gum.
Love it.
It's called Revitabite, and it's really good. It's really good.
I actually love it. I tried it the other night.
I was there.
You had the whole table,
I was there.
Just
I had
oohing and ahhing over this.
There's not been one person. I love it when I give people the gum and I say, try this. We're beta testing it right now. And then they have the little package and I'm like, to taste it right now. Like I want to make sure they're going to taste it, you know?
And look them in the eye. And
I want to, and I can tell like if they like it or not. Yeah. So what it is it's a very thick shell of xylitol, like 20 times more than like any piece of gum. Mm-hmm. But and xylitol at a certain gram per day of consumption, it has antibacterial properties. Awesome. It's all about like fighting bacteria. Yeah. But inside the gum, there's a liquid core that has MCT oil from coconut oil, which is also an antibacterial.
And, amongst other things.
Among other things, yeah. There's hydroxyapatite, which is sort of a natural alternative to fluoride, hydroxyapatite crystals, and a really good probiotic.
Wow.
And this stuff, and it tastes super good. Lights you up a little bit in the sinuses in the first 20 seconds.
I thought it was the perfect amount. I'm a spicy guy. I liked it. I love it.
It's really good. It maintains its flavor for well over an hour. Right. It's very soft. So we're going to launch this thing online. Hopefully, maybe we can find a way to like get it into the hands of the MB2 partners.
Absolutely.
And enable them to monetize it through their practice. But in the end, like it's a really good product.
No,
and I really believe it's going to be good for people's dental health and overall wellness. And I'm super excited to see. So we're probably like 4 to 6 weeks from launch.
How cool.
And it's exciting. It's really, really, really cool.
That's the sign of an entrepreneur, right? Gets excited about creating something, right? Creating another baby, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Dr. Chotiner, it was a blast to have you.
Hey, man, this was
great to see you as always. Cool. And again, I really appreciate the friendship and
man.
Getting to know you and a really cool.
Let me say one more thing. When we showed up on Thursday night, my wife wasn't able to come on Thursday to the Top Gun thing, and I walked out there, and I was like looking for people that I even played golf with earlier today. Yeah. I could not recognize one person. Everybody's wearing the same thing. And they got aviators on. Yeah. The sun's kind of going down. I have my and I'm looking around. Finally, I see one person, and I'm like, I got to hook up with Joe, because I made a connection with you too, right? This isn't just like a business thing. I do consider you a friend. And I'm like, where's Joe? Oh, they go, oh, that's fine. He's the only guy out there wearing a blue floral shirt. And so, sure enough, in a sea of flight jackets, Maverick bomber jackets, there's this one dude over there. And so I was able to.
Goose.
It was good, man.
Goose. I got a picture. I can prove it.
Yeah, but anyway, but I appreciated. You kind of let me latch onto you that night.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So, but thanks for having me. I would love to do this sort of thing again, and hopefully
we'll have you back so we can talk. We can talk more gum, and I want some samples too.
Yeah, I've got some.
Awesome, cool. Well, great to see you, boss. Hey, listeners, thank you for joining for another great episode of the MB2 Underground podcast. We'll catch you next time.